welcome to another Saturday write-in. At the moment, it's looking like I'm still going it alone, so I'm hoping that some of you guys are going to drop by just in the next few minutes. But yeah, so yeah. I have to admit, I actually started today not really knowing what I wanted to talk about because I was rather but not really busy, but just like really super busy staving off a severe bout of anxiety this week. So I didn't really get much done. So I'm sorry for that if you guys were really hoping for some interesting subjects today, but I was hoping that we could maybe just like spontaneously coming up with some interesting stuff. So I just want to say hey to Naked Firefly. Thank you so much for joining us today, or for me. Ooh, I'm so used to having more than one person on camera with me that I'm just going to refer to myself in plural. So that's horrible. So I'll try to do better and just say me. But thank you for joining me. And I see there's someone else watching, so I don't know who you are yet, but just drop me a line and say hi, and then we can give you a personalized greeting as well. But in the meantime, how have you been doing, Naked Firefly? Have you been getting any writing done this week, or did you also have a bit of a mad week on your side like I did? So while I'm waiting for an answer, I'll just like kind of give you guys an update on what I've been up to. So what happened was that Friday, not this Friday, the previous Friday, my boss basically at the business where I am contracted to do the communication stuff with, she told me that she recommended me for another job where I would basically actually be managing the communications for a project in another country, but from home here. So I wouldn't be moving or anything like that, but just yeah, it's a good move and it's a really interesting like change for me, but also it's kind of important because career-wise, I think it's an important move. So I was really happy that she recommended me for that. But basically, that meant that the interview was actually yesterday morning at 8 a.m. or sorry, 9 a.m. And then it was quite stressful for me because it's so important to me and I know how important it is. So I kind of just like my brain just went all over the place, which wasn't a lot of fun. But you know what? I made it through and I think the interview went well, but I'll have to see whether or not I get the job because I'm sure they have other candidates as well and they have considerations to go through before they hire me. So I'll have to see, but I'll let you guys know how that went eventually if I do find out whether or not I got the job. Right, so in the meantime, I also want to say hi to Poet Spice Biblioscribe. Thank you so much for joining and welcome. I think you are someone new, unless you have a different account and you are actually an old regular here. But if you are someone new, a very special welcome, and I hope that you find this fun and interesting and all the good stuff. And then Naked Firefly, and also just let me know what your week was like and what you were up to and stuff like that, because I like talking and finding all this kind of things out from all these kinds of things out from the people in my chat, because then we care a little bit about each other and we can motivate each other and encourage each other and sometimes commiserate. So yeah, let us know. Okay. Naked Firefly said, I'm good. For 2 days, I got no writing done. Everything was crazy. I know that feeling, but except for on my side, I haven't been able to write for the past week. So I'm actually really looking forward to getting back to my editing stuff. And then Poet Spice says, I hope the job interview works out. Thanks so much. I really appreciate it. Yeah, it's really exciting and it's kind of scary. So yeah, I'm just hoping for the best and hopefully it works out. Right. So Poet Spice also said, "Yep, I'm new. All right. So then an extra special welcome." But yeah, so what will you guys be working on? I think for me, I'm going to be working on book 3, which is for the benefit of Poet Spice and anyone else watching from the future who missed this part. I am basically working on a young adult epic fantasy series. The first 2 books, namely The Vanished Knight and The Heir's Choice, have already been published, and I'm now busy doing revisions for the 3rd book in the series, which is a bit of a monster of a book because it is currently standing at, let me just see, 277,330 words. So, yeah, woo, lots of work for me to do. But I am getting through it gradually. But it would be nice. I'm hoping now, if I do get that other job, that the stability of just knowing what's going to be happening, because it's a 2-year contract, which is awesome. So if I get that contract for 2 years, then at least I'll have like a really good bout of stability, and then I can use that to just like get some momentum going on my writing. So yeah, but let me know what you guys are up to and what you will be working on today. And also, if you have any questions or comments or anything like that that you want to talk about tonight, because I left things a bit open-ended tonight. So yeah, anything you want to talk about, just drop me a line in the comments in the chat. Right, so just Poet Spice, just especially for your benefit, Naked Firefly knows already. I just keep talking. I'm not sure who keeps disappearing, so I'm just hoping I keep saying stuff and then you kind of miss me. But anyway, if Poet Spice is still online, basically I'm just going to keep talking. Oh, okay, so sorry. There, I see Poet Spice is still online. So Naked Firefly actually knows this because she's a regular, but basically I'll ask questions and you can just like answer later on, because there is a bit of a lag between the live stream and the chat. So I'll, especially when I'm alone on camera, what I do is I ask questions and then I go talking about myself for a while, which is really awkward to me. I don't really like doing it, but it's better than like, so what do you guys want to talk about? So I don't like doing that either. So I find that talking about myself a little bit is a bit, at least making a bit of noise until I find someone to interact with. So that's basically what I'm doing. Super awkward, but yeah, I'm getting used to it still. And then Poet Spice actually said, "Oh my, that is a long 3rd book." Yeah, it is actually. It's the longest book I've ever written. I think to give you a comparison, the first 2 books put together is about half the length of this 3rd book. So it is definitely, it's a massive project, and it wasn't intentional that I did have that massive book. I didn't set out to have a big book like that. I was actually planning to come in under 100,000 words. But then as I was writing, it just got a life of its own. And I'm a firm believer in writing a book until it's done. So I don't really like stopping it like at a certain point just because I want to stop at an arbitrary amount of words. So Poet Spice has said, I started a novel during Camp Nano. I haven't been writing much on it, so I'm doing some today if I can get the words out. Cool, but let us know. So, what is your novel? Is it what genre is it? What age grouping? Let us know. I'm just really curious. So, yeah. Naked Firefly says, I'll be working on my series Bible for the middle grade young adult fantasy. Cool, that is really interesting. I have to say, I'm bad at series Bibles. I keep trying to make them, but I think because of the rate at which stuff happens in my books, that it's really hard for me to keep. I can create a series Bible, but then it kind of gets outdated really quickly because I let some major stuff happen, and then it kind of changes things for everyone, and just chaos. I'm a lover of chaos. I just love the drama. So I'm like, yeah, I'm a bit weird like that maybe, but that's kind of my thing. So I do kind of have a series Bible, but most of it is actually all in my head, and which is not necessarily a good thing to do, because what happens on my side actually is that I will keep, for example, the War of Six Crowns, which is the series that I'm working on right now. So I would keep that in my brain, and then it takes up so much space that it's actually hard for me to work on anything else, because I can't really devote much in the way of like world building or anything on a new series until I get this thing done and out of my head again. So yeah, it's fun. My brain is just a really fun place. Not always in a good way, but it's like going on a roller coaster. But yeah, so yeah. I have to say I miss having friends on camera. It's not that you guys are inferior in any way. I think you guys are awesome, and I'm so glad you joined me tonight. But it just really, it's just that those like awkward silences that I still haven't quite figured out how to cover them. I just it gets bad. So, and my brain's just like, oh my word, I'm supposed to figure out what to say next, and then I don't know what I want to say. So that's fun. But yeah. So I'm thinking. Hmm. I keep seeing someone peeking in and out in the background. So because I see there are two people chatting with me at the moment, and there's a third person watching, and it's not me. So I know you're there. Just drop me a line, say hi, so that I can also say hi back. Because I know you're there. I know. No, you vanished, but I know there's someone watching. So I'm really curious. But yeah, so today I have to say I'm actually on a new computer. I actually should warn you guys. If I suddenly disappear, I will come back, don't worry, because I know StreamYard doesn't drop me out of a live stream or anything like that if anything goes wrong. But today I am actually on my new computer, and it has given me a bit of trouble before, but I did take it in for repairs. So I'm hoping that it's actually going to work better this time, and it won't do the weird thing that happened the last time I used this laptop, which was to freeze randomly and then just completely solidly freeze and do absolutely nothing else. Because I actually want to transfer everything onto this new camera. Ugh, why do I keep saying camera? New computer. I and then I'm going to work on it now, but it's taking terribly long. That's actually another reason why I'm so behind on everything, because I've actually been spending the past week trying to get my files transferred between computers. So that was fun. Yay! Anyway, so I see some comments came in. Naked Firefly says, an agent is interested in my romance, so I'll be sending off the rest of the manuscript on Monday. Ooh, that's exciting. I really hope that works out. That is awesome. I hope you find that it works out for you. I'm so excited for you. So fingers crossed. But let me know how it goes, because I'm really interested to know, and hopefully that you also get some really cool new work, and or a new agent and support in getting published. It's going to be cool. I really hope it works out. Spy said, right now the book is called Forest of Blood. It's a story of two towns separated by 40 miles of heavy forest. One is very puritanical but secretly run by an evil group. Ooh, that sounds really nice. And then continuing with that, Poet Spice says, the other is a modern town that doesn't believe in the supernatural. In between the forest is the Devil's Seat and the Root Sisters. That is really interesting. Ah, I'm really curious about how that book is going to go, because that sounds very, very, very cool. And then Naked Firefly just said, thank you, me too, I will let you know. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Hopefully both of us will have some good news this week. So Although I suppose I don't know how long it will take you to actually hear back from the agent after you've submitted. So maybe it's going to be a bit longer, because I know sometimes if you submit full manuscripts, it can take a little bit for them to get through to it, not because it's difficult for them, but it's just probably they get more than one full manuscript to read. So maybe it will take a few weeks still. So if you don't hear anything back this week, then I'll just have to be patient, which is not a strong suit of mine, but I'll keep you company while you wait anyway. Yeah, so now I actually have to say I am trying to get all my documents open so that we can get started in a time, because I don't have like last week where I had so many things to say and I had to rush through trying to get through all the points. Yeah, so today it's a bit slower, so maybe we're going to get a bit more writing done, maybe, hopefully, and that will be good as well. So, but yeah, I'm seeing a lot of lurkers today. I don't know. I'm seeing 4 people are watching me now. And although it's pretty cool, I love it. I love you guys. And please, by the way, while you're here and like, could you please just give my video a like? And if you haven't yet, subscribe to my channel, because, you know, the algorithm demands support. So I really appreciate it if you guys could just interact with my channel a little bit, if you don't mind helping me out with that. And then, but even if you are planning to lurk, I would still appreciate just hearing who is here and saying hi, because it's just a cool thing to know who's watching, where they are from, and stuff like that. So, PoetSpy, speaking of which, where are you from? I'm not, you don't have to be too specific, but just like general ballpark, I'm in South Africa. So that's interesting. And I believe Naked Firefly is in the US. So yeah, let us know just for interest's sake. And let me just see. I got some, my goodness. Open Sesame. This new computer of mine is actually supposed to be faster. So I'm waiting to be impressed, but then I have to say, I suppose I can't blame my poor computer for struggling to handle all these amounts of words. Because obviously now I'm editing, I actually have like 4 beta readers who left comments in my documents. So it's not just one 270,000 words document that I have open, it's actually 5 of them. So my poor computer is just like, what am I doing? Why are you doing this to me, Misha, my dear mistress? What have I done to deserve this? But yeah, so as soon as this is open, I think so far I have my own document and 1 critique partner document open, which is fantastic. But yeah, so what are you guys? Do you have anything interesting happening in this new week? Let me know in those chats. I am personally just going to I'm going to try to get more writing done, and I really, really, really have to sort out that little thing called my communications plan, because I feel terrible that I have spent so much time talking about communications with you guys for the past 2 weeks on live streams, and I have done very little to sort out my own. So I have to do it. I've done like probably like a third of the total document that I want to do. So it's very yeah, it's really just me being like, I don't want to think about this right now. So that sucks, but hopefully it will get better once I just sit down and get it done. But today is just not going to be that day that I'm going to be working on it. I've missed my characters in the epic fantasy series, so I just want to get back to them, and then that's going to be what I'm going to do this weekend. It's going to be so much fun. But yeah, and then Poet Spice says, liked and subbed. Thanks so much. I appreciate it. And also Poet Spice said, I'm in the USA. And just one random thing that I want to request from you, Poet Spice, if I may, could you just also in the chat let me know what gender you would like me to refer to you? It, or not it, they, them, or he, she, or whatever. I know it is actually a terrible thing to say, so I wasn't actually, I've been watching actually as a random thing that I wanted to mention. Basically, I've been marathoning ContraPoints all week because I needed something interesting to keep my computer going so that it wouldn't keep closing down while my Dropbox updated. So that's actually why I'm talking like this randomly at the moment, because I actually just finished watching a video about how bad it is for people to be transgender and then be called it. So that's kind of where it just jumped out in my brain. So it's just, yeah, random fact, but that's kind of where I'm at in my brain at the moment. So Poet Spice says, your poor computer is stressed with all the words. Yeah, it is actually. I think I've calculated. I think at one time, if I have to open all of these up, it basically has to handle like a million words worth of data plus all the comments. So I don't really blame for being stressed out. I just wish it would be a bit less stressed out and just actually do its job a bit faster. But I think it is actually a little bit faster than my previous computer because this one actually has two drives. It's got an HDD and an SSD, which honestly, I don't even really know what all that means. I just know that the SSD there I'm back. Sorry. I don't know what caused that. I just vanished. So I was just going to ask you guys if you can actually see me or not, but then I came back. And I apologize for that. No idea what is going on. Hopefully it's the last time. I have a suspicion it's probably going to be the fact that I'm trying to open a big document, because it was literally as I was opening my document that the feed vanished. So, okay, so Poet Spice says, I'm female, so she, and then she also said, I teach high school English. So school started this past Wednesday. So next week is 3 days of in-service meetings, then students come back. So stress, not interesting. Oh, cool. No, yeah, that is really interesting. Thanks for sharing. No, I've got on my side. Sorry about that, guys. I keep seeing it's going. Can you guys see me now? Because my computer just keeps coming and going. So what I was going to say, hopefully this goes through. I'm basically doing freelance editing, formatting, and sometimes some copywriting and then communication stuff for this company that I mentioned earlier. But that's basically my job. So I don't really get like days off um and anything like that. I just take days off when I need to take days off, and otherwise I just drive myself crazy just working. So it's fun. I actually love doing it. I know when I talk like that, it sounds really like, oh gosh, but it's actually something I love doing. So I find it worth it. But some days it's just, sometimes I just wish that my brain would let me just, guilt-free, have a guilt-free holiday and stuff like that. So Boat Spy said, "Hi again, thank you so much. I don't know why this keeps dropping, so I'm just hoping that once things are all stable, that it would stop. So because I haven't had problems all day, so it's kind of cruel that it's happening now. Sorry." All right, so Naked Firefly says, "This week I'll be waiting on my best friend to have her baby. She's showing signs she's about to go into labor, but it's taking forever." Is it? Oh, that's so exciting. I hope that hopefully everything goes well, and fingers crossed for that. But I think, is it a first baby? Because I think I've read somewhere that first kids are usually a little bit slower in coming to the world than other kids. So maybe that's part of the issue. Okay, I have one more to open, so hopefully, come on. Hopefully, I don't get dropped off the connection again, because that would be really nasty. Hmm. Okay, so far it actually. That's just so ironic. I have to say, that's like, yeah, very funny live stream. I'm here. Hopefully, I was just going to say, I'm so excited. I'm here. Nothing is happening to vanish, and then I vanish immediately after. So that was rather funny, but hopefully now I will not disappear on you guys. So let's just see. Nope, not yet. But it's at least, I have to say, the last time I tried to do this during a live stream, it actually took me the better part of an hour to get all these documents open. So I actually think that this is definitely faster. Yeah. So it would just like be really nice of it to not like let me disappear and all that stuff while I'm waiting. So, hmm. Sorry, I'm just kind of like I'm almost worried to try and start like a coherent story at the moment for fear of it triggering me getting dropped again. So just hopefully now it's stable and I sat still for a little bit and it looks like nothing is happening. So hopefully that's cool now. But yeah, so are you guys ready for some writing sprints? Because any moment now I'll be able to get going and then we can have some fun. And yeah, just as a little bit of a mention, if you guys want, we can also do the thing where we read excerpts. I don't really want to do it if I'm going to be the only one reading excerpts, because that's a little bit like conceited, it feels like. So I'm not going to do it if I'm the only one. So please let me know in the chat whether or not you guys are willing to share little bits of what you are writing, even if it's just like little snippets. And then I will adapt my plan accordingly. So just let me know in the comments. But yeah, I'm actually really excited about starting editing my books, guys. I'm usually not this particularly excitable, but it's because I haven't been working on it. So my brain's just like, come on, I want to do it. I want to get going. So it's going to be really exciting for me to do it, because it's also a really interesting part of the story where I'm at the moment, because it's now really where things are really starting to kick up a notch. So that's pretty awesome for me. Yeah, let's see. Ah, for once, I do believe they are all open. Hallelujah. That's fantastic. Okay, cool. So I think in the next, let's say, next 4 minutes, so at 35, whatever time, local time you have, so at colon 35, I think we are going to do some sprinting. So let's do like a warm up, like a 10-minute sprint, and then we can see what happens. And then Poet Spice says, sure, I'm just looking for images of characters, and maybe I should just do that so that you guys can also see the comments. Because I have a tendency to forget, having like gotten used to doing Hangouts. I forget that I can actually these days just put it on the screen instead of reading it out loud. So I'll get there one day, one day, one day. I will actually remember all these things, and I'll actually look like you know what the heck going on. But yeah, looking for characters, that's always fun. I enjoy doing that. So, but I haven't done it in ages. But again, kind of helps that this is my main book, and I've been working on it, I think, for almost a decade now. Not this particular book, but the series in general. So yeah, I basically found all my characters years ago already. But it's always fun. So do you guys, I just as an interesting thing, when you guys are looking for inspiration, are you guys more like visual, or do you do like auditory stuff? Because yeah, how do you create like the mood for your writing and stuff like that? Do you do mood boards, or do you do like me? I do music playlists for all of my books, which is my way of doing it, because music just really gets me in my heart and in my feels. So if I have like a list of music that I play, right, it just gets me into that kind of writing and creative zone instantly. So that's also, by the way, why I put my video on mute every time I'm drafting, or every time we're sprinting, because I play music in the background, and I don't want any copyright strikes against my name because of the fact that someone might hear me playing some kind of song in the background. Should not be cool. So yeah, that's what I do. But sometimes I do like mood boards, but other than having like basic images of what I want the characters to look like, I just mostly leave that up to my mind to create for itself. But it's so fun to do it sometimes. Okay, let me just, now that I'm just a minute out, I just remembered maybe it's a good time for me to open the countdown timer. So okay, so it is now 10 minutes. Let me just, why are you doing this to me? Yes, come on. That's why. Okay, there we go. So it is 35 minutes past the hour, so I'm going to set this up for 10 minutes, and then we are going to start writing, and then I'll come back and we can chat a little bit more. So for a 10-minute sprint starting in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and go. And time, how did you guys do? I think I did only like a little bit of editing because when I took a look at my document, it was screwed up again. So I'm really hoping that now that I'm editing it in this new computer, that it's not going to mess with my formatting every single time, because that's just a downer. But yeah, so I spent some time fixing that and then finding where I left off before, and now I'm only just starting to get into it again. But yeah, so just to read some of the previous comments, answering my question of whether you guys are more visual or auditory when it comes to setting the scene, creating like mental images of your story and the mood and stuff. Both Spice said, I'm definitely a visual person. When I write the scenes, I actually run like movies in my head, so images work really well. I like music as well, but I don't really have a playlist. Yeah, I'm also actually kind of like that. I do also see like what I want to have happening, but then with the extra part where I kind of inhabit the characters that I'm writing as I'm writing them, so I kind of see it from both sides. It's not just from external, like a camera, but also from like as if I'm in the book myself, which is a bit weird to describe it that way, I suppose. But there you go. My mental process is interesting. And then Poet Spice also said, I will find a YouTube video with mood music, for example, dark and creepy or action thriller, etc. Yeah, that's actually a nice way of doing it as well. I'm just like gathering music as I go. I have an Apple Music subscription on iTunes, so I listen to the new music that they suggest to me and browse a little bit. Sometimes play their radio programs and stuff, and then I find music that sounds and feels like the stories that I'm writing, and then I just assign them to the various playlists that I have active for my ongoing stories. Yeah, so let me know how you guys did. I'm really curious. Poet Spice says she got 218 words. Well done. Nicely done. Naked Firefly, are you still with us? Did you write anything? So I guess we'll find out in a little bit. Yeah, so Poet Spice, do you want to share a little excerpt of what you were writing on? Just copy paste a little bit in the chat if you want. But yeah, and then if you guys do it, then I will share a little excerpt as well. But yeah, I'm really curious about these people who are silently lurking and watching, like sentinels to my life, because they have still not said hello, but they're just quietly sitting there in the background. I'm probably maybe annoying them today with my random nonsense that I'm talking. So sorry if that is the case. I apologize profusely. Hopefully next week I'll be a bit more on my usual kind of level with regards to creating valuable content. Cool. So I don't know why. Naked Firefly just said 263 words. Well done. Nicely done. So do you guys want to share some excerpts? Yes, no, maybe, dust, anything? Let me know. And this is now where I ask, and then I kind of have to wait for feedback. So I'm just kind of like stuck in the middle, wondering what's going on. I think I'm going to also just as a by the way. So once I hear back from you guys on the excerpt question, then we can continue. We can either share excerpts, otherwise we're just going to go straight back into the writing and editing thing. And I think for the next one, we're just going to up it a little bit to a 15-minute sprint. So I'm just going to, while I wait, I'm just setting that up as well, because then I don't have to jump around so much when we are getting ready to go. All right, so that's basically what I just did. So let's see. Naked Firefly says, I'll share after the next sprint, trying to get rid of a neighbor. And then Poet Spy says, here's a small piece. Okay, we're waiting for the small piece. I think then while I'm waiting for you to copy paste, then I'll read a little bit of what I have written, and keeping in mind this is probably going to go into the bits that I haven't really edited yet, except for like really rough revisions. So forgive me if there are any awkward writing or anything like that, any mistakes and stuff, because yeah. All right, so let me just get there. Okay. James sat alone in his room, glaring on his coffee table. Days and days of this and nothing, not even a spark, and nothing from Phipps other than the messenger sent to pick up the previous day's candle for inspection, and a new candle that James knew he wouldn't be able to light. But he kept staring at the wick like a fool, hoping like a fool that this time would be different. His homework lay discarded in a heap on the floor. He was way behind anyway. Not like a few hours in the afternoon could make much of a difference. Not like this was making much of a difference either. His eyes would squint at this rate. The only thing that seemed to burn was the invitation, still in his inner blazer pocket. He took it out, staring at the strange fluid silver lettering. The words sparkled without direct light on them, like magic. You are cordially invited to Raya's cave for tea. He frowned at the invitation card, turning it around in his fingers. What was Raya on about? Sure, she'd invited him to go back the first time they'd met, but this time she'd invited Ward as well. Not that there was anything wrong with Ward going along, it just felt strange. She definitely invited only James before. Or was that what her private chat with Ward had been about the first day they were there? James turned the card over and over in his fingers. He didn't even know if he wanted to go. Raya's caves was somehow operated outside the limits of time, so if he went in, he had no idea of how much time passed until he came out. Hell, for all he knew, he might miss the whole war. Now there was a charming idea. Okay, I'll pause there. So, and then now we can share Poet Spices. His hand slammed on the side of her face, the soft flesh compressed against the hard under mass of bone. Ouch, that sounds. Is it like a. It's a bit violent, so I hope that isn't like an abusive situation, although I suppose in a story it could be, because then that might be what your story is about, so really interesting. Let's see. Next bit that Poet Spy shared. Lightning white hot heat flashed into her brain. The dark behind her eyelids from the flinch of the oncoming blow instantly shattered into bright light blue and white phosphorescence. Cool. Very, very, very good description there. I don't think I've ever been hit like that before, but I do have like an idea of what it's like from having like hit my head somewhere, and that kind of causes the same kind of impact where it just kind of goes like white for a second before you actually register anything other than pain. So I think that's a really good description. Just waiting now to see if there's anything more that Poet Spice wants to share. If not, then I'm going to go on, but I don't want to just jump into the sprint until she's finished with the sharing. Welcome back, Naked Firefly. So I assume you managed to get rid of the neighbor. I hope when you said you're trying to get rid of a neighbor that it wasn't like in a really dark and like crime writer kind of sense, if I can put it that way. And it's just to get her out the door. But that was like a but I'm glad to see you back again. And then Poet Spice just said, yes, the leader of the evil cult is very violent and sadistic. Ooh. I hope he gets his comeuppance. I'm a really big fan of evil characters like that, just like getting their backsides handed back to them later on in the story. So fingers crossed for that. And then Naked Firefly said, yes, she likes to talk a lot. She brings me my mail and won't be quiet. Yeah. There are some people who are like that. It's very, very considerate of them to like help you out with stuff like bringing mail in and so on. But you know, just getting the hint of like, okay then, bye bye, thank you, bye bye. Yeah, yeah, I know that feeling. I've had that before as well, but not fun. Especially when you're trying to write, that's always the worst because it kind of just completely distracts you from what you're trying to do. So it's horrible. All right, so I think in the meantime, let's get into our 15-minute sprint. So I'm just going to count down from 5 seconds again, and then I'll see you guys in 15 minutes. All right, so 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and go. time. How did you guys do? I finally got some proper amount of editing done. I think I did like 2 pages. Yay! I am so happy with that. Hearing back from anyone, so I really hope you guys didn't disappear on me because that would be cruel. But yeah, we'll see. Okay, there we have someone. Now I'm relieved. It's like, whew. Naked Firefly says she did 125 words. Nicely done. Do share an excerpt, please, if you want. If you don't want to, no pressure, but feel free to share. Mm-hmm. Let's see. So I'm just going to say I'm not sure how long it's going to take, but I think we're going to do for our next sprint. We'll also do 15 minutes of sprinting again. So that would be nice. I think I'm going to give myself time for 2 more sprints in total. So yeah, 1 more now coming up, and then 1 more after that, and then I think I'm going to stop for the day. I might keep on editing, but yeah, I still need to finish up my Dropbox downloads, and that's going to take forever, and I can't do both because I've had to actually pause my Dropbox downloads while doing this stream. Otherwise, this would be even worse than it was earlier. So hopefully hopefully it finishes up, because I really, really, really want for these downloads to be done by Monday, because it's really a drag. It's kind of a pain in the neck to sit with 2 computers, but you can't really use either of them until the downloads and uploads and stuff are done. So yeah, sucks a bit. Right, so Naked Firefly said she'll share. Give me a minute, okay? And then also I see Poet Spice left a comment saying 349 words. Awesome work. Well done. But do share some more excerpts, Poet Spice, or I'm really curious to see where this is going, so that's cool. And so while we're waiting, then I'll share a little excerpt of what I've been editing. So I'm just going to start a little bit before I stopped off the first time, and then just keep going a little. I'll keep going a little bit. So if he went in, he had no idea of how much time passed until he came out. Hell, for all he knew, he might miss the whole war. Now there was a charming idea. No, he'd promised. Anyway, there wasn't a point in going. It wasn't like he'd gain anything from talking to her. She might have been the one person he'd met since going on this crazy journey who was less likely to give a straight answer than Phipps was. And her home was weird. And for all he knew, he'd have to go through the whole almost drowning thing again if he wanted to visit. Chills rippled up and down his spine at the thought. Images of Bubbles carrying away his last air flashed in front of his eyes. He slammed the invitation card face down onto the table, gasping in some deep breaths. This was pathetic. Here he was, supposed to be a powerful fire mage, but he was traumatized because he'd gotten a dunking, and he couldn't even light a freaking candle with his mind, one that was supposedly rigged to light up at the smallest provocation. He pulled the candle closer and focused his attention on it. Somewhere deep inside him, something stirred. He tried to grasp onto the sensation, but it stayed just out of reach. Come on. It obeyed his plea. Warmth spread through his body until his fingertips tingled. He panted with excitement. Okay, he whispered. Okay. He stared at the candle's wick, willing some fire to go to it. But instead of him pushing the fire out, the candle seemed to pull the flame from him instead. Hiss. The candle sputtered to life. James's jaw dropped. Ward burst into the room, but froze in the doorway, staring at the candle. James returned his gaze to the flickering flame. You lit both? Ward asked. What? He glanced at Ward's candle, which sat on the kitchenette sink for some reason. It was lit as well. And yeah, that's basically where I got before time ran out. So let me just get my power cable, because now my computer just let me know that I'm running out of battery power. So let me just get that in, and then I'll share what Naked Firefly shared. Yay! Okay. So, Naked Firefly. Foul body odor and peppered food riddled the Igbalayan miniature bus. Ayanda clutched her Adir print messenger bag close to her midsection, sipping in small breaths of the offensive air. That's a nice description, really vivid. Omudani, her Onisagan teacher, slept undisturbed in the seat next to her, the older woman's head resting on the warmed window. Cool. Do share more if you want to. It's interesting, and I hope I'm not butchering the language, because that's the one thing of just like impromptu reading stuff out loud, is you're always like running the risk of finding words that you're not 100% sure about the pronunciation. So I apologize in advance if I actually screwed up the pronunciation. Next bit that Naked Firefly shared. The bus rolled over a deep pothole, lurching the unseated passengers forward. A man slammed into Ayanda, knocking her into the chair ahead of her. Oh, that sounds deeply unpleasant. I've actually been in a bus like that, not for long, luckily, but it was definitely not very, very pleasant. She grabbed her shoulder, stifling a scream through clenched teeth. Thankfully, it remained in its socket. She cradled her arm closer to her side. Ooh. Interesting. Sounds like she actually had Naked Firefly says, actually, you pronounced it very well. Thank you. I'm really glad just to hear that. I do try a little bit, because it's not necessarily the same country or the same, because the words look a lot like, I almost want to say Nigerian words, but like or words from one of the more like Nigerian or Ghana or one of those like upper northern African languages. So it's a bit different from what I hear in South Africa here where I am, but it's I try to use like what I've heard people pronounce their names with and stuff like that to say it. So hopefully I'm glad that I did it not too badly. So that's cool, because I do actually like pronouncing things correctly. It's one of my like really annoying quirks, I suppose. And then Poet Bibliospice, Poet Spice Biblioscribe. Goodness, let me. And just after saying that I pronounced correctly, then I forget to read in the correct order. Sorry. And then she said, interesting piece, Fire Mage. So that's just a compliment on my story. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Yeah, James is having some severe trouble with being a Fire Mage, though, which is kind of the fun part about writing him. And then Naked Firefly says, it's actually Yoruba. Okay, cool. Really interesting. I'm really curious about that now. I think, let me just check, because it's the word is yeah, okay, so I wanted to say that it's a Western African kind of language, but I wasn't. I just had to do a quick quick Google check before I said anything because I don't want to make a fool of myself. So I wasn't that terribly far off. So yay! But it's interesting. I actually I've read some books, but now obviously it's not. It's now like in a different part, but like um books by African authors, like out of Kenya, and I'm trying to remember where the other part is. I want to say it was like. I'm trying to think. I want to say it's Uganda, but I can't remember now. But I've read some books by authors from there as part of my literature classes when I was in high school still actually. So and I have to say I found it so interesting. So I'm really intrigued by your book and finding out more about it because I find different cultures and different places really interesting. So I love it when writers kind of take me there on a journey and as part of an adventure or something like that. So that's really cool. So Poet Spice also said, loving the descriptions. Yeah, I think, but both of you guys, you are really strong on descriptions, and I really like, especially with now with what Firefly just put out, is like I mentioned, I've actually been on buses that's like that cramped and stuff, and it sounds really random, but it was actually just to get from like one place to another, like a few blocks away. So it wasn't that bad, but just that like being that cramped for that little short while already got me like really, really uncomfortable. So I actually understand that going on any kind of journey that's longer than that would be deeply unpleasant. And I think Naked Firefly actually caught that kind of cramped, um, I want to almost say claustrophobic feeling. She caught very well. So I really admire you guys. You are awesome. I think you are all awesome writers. Okay, so shall we get into the next 15-minute sprint? I think I'm just going to say yes, we are, because otherwise I have to sit around playing like elevator music while waiting for you guys to respond. So I'm just going to say we are going to go into the next writing sprint for 15 minutes, and I'm going to count down now, and I'll see you guys in a little bit. All right, so 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and go. time. How did you guys do? I feel personally like I probably did closer to 1 page this time. I think I went a bit slower because I had more that I had to fix. So, but I'm feeling like I'm making some good progress, so that's always worth being excited about. So. Let me just see. Actually, I think I actually did more than just 1 page. More like 1.5. So I did a bit better than I actually thought. Naked Firefly says 205 words. Nicely done. Want to share an excerpt? Poet Spice, how did you do? Did you get any writing done? Just let me know in the chat. And also do share an excerpt if you want to share one before we get started with the next sprint. Mm-hmm. So I'm not really seeing any responses at the moment. So I'm kind of just not sure whether or not it is just the lag between the live stream and the comments, or whether or not I'm, or whether, yeah, there's just no response. So sorry if I'm kind of like really quiet because I'm kind of waiting to see what's happening, while also just like trying to balance that with like not continuing on like at a tangent without keeping everybody involved. So this part I find between the sprints is still a bit difficult for me to manage. So I'm sorry if that's feeling a bit awkward, but yeah. Poet Spice says this time 285 words. Well done. That's still good. She says it's slow going, but you know what? It's actually still, I think it's pretty good. That's actually, for me, when I'm drafting, that's the upper limit of what I'm capable of when I'm rough drafting. So that's not bad at all, I don't think. And then Poet Spice also said, although I have to say, at least I'm getting some words done. Yeah, absolutely. That's actually kind of the whole reason why I started doing these weekend sprints, because I think then at least if I do nothing else in the week, then at least I've got a few minutes worth of edits done, and or writing if I'm writing. So I think it's always worthwhile. Right, so I'm not sure if you guys want to share an excerpt. So I think what I'm going to do is, on the assumption that you guys are willing to share an excerpt, I'll share a bit of mine, and then I'll share. If you guys share, then I'll also like read through it again and put it onto the screen like I did the previous time. So I'm just going to read a little bit, and I hope you guys are willing to share a little bit of your story as well if you want. So Poet Spice says, do you plot out your novels? It's my answer is a yes and a no. No, in that when I'm rough drafting, I don't plot at all. I basically create, at the most, what I would do is get an idea of what I want the starting moment to be, and also what I want the climactic point of my story to be. But everything else, I basically leave up in the air with regards to the plot. And then what I would do is um, character interviews, which is basically kind of like role playing, where I'm pretending that I'm the writer, and then there's also the character, and that we are talking to each other, for example, over a cup of coffee. And then I just talk to them because it sounds really random, but I find that doing it that way gives me a very good idea of not only like what their answers are with regard to their their goals and their hopes and their dreams and their motivations, but also in terms of like their personalities and what their voice sounds like. So I find that very useful, but that's basically the extent of my preparation before I start a new book. And I don't always do all of the above. I just sometimes, if I'm really feeling a strong kind of affinity with what's going on, then what I would do is just get a notebook, get out a pen, and I'll just start drafting. And then I basically just draft until I know what I want the book to be. Then I stop, and then what I actually do is I take the parts. I basically actually I wait like between 2 weeks and a month. Then I reread what I wrote, and then I use the bits and pieces that I actually really liked and that I definitely want to go through into the next draft, and I plot around those. And then I rewrite the thing because I write by rough draft with pen and paper, and then I actually we have to rewrite anyway to get it onto my computer. But what I use the rewrite as is actually a kind of very intensive revision, and then I go through the whole normal process, which is just revisions, edits, etc. So that's kind of my process, which is very involved, but I like it that way because the big thing about why I draft by hand is so that I don't actually how can I put it? I don't kill my own writing by editing as I go. So with a pen, I can't edit at all until the draft is done. So I can actually, if I deviate from a plan or anything, or from what I thought is something that I wanted, and it's not coming out that way on the page, just writing it out and not being able to do any further or rewrite start means that I actually give my new ideas and spontaneous ideas time to breathe, which I find is a vital part of my books in the end, actually, surprisingly enough. So yeah, that's probably a long answer, but that's basically what I write, how I write. It's my approach to writing. And then Poet Spice just says that sounds good. Yeah, I really enjoy it that way. But tell me, how do you write? Do you plot? Do you write by hand, or do you just draft into your computer? Just curious, because I'm not going to say you're wrong or right. I'm just always very interested in what other writers use to get through a story. For me, I'm just of the opinion that literally anything is valid and acceptable in a writer as long as it gets them to the point where they finish the book. If they can't finish the book, then it's probably a good idea to just consider trying something different and seeing if that works. But if it works, it works. There's no reason, I think, to write like anyone else. Then Poet Spice says, I don't plot either. Handwriting in pen is good. I set a timer and start writing. What happens, happens. Around 3 to 5,000, I get ideas of what scenes happen, etc. That's actually a very good point you're making, because that's actually what I also find. But what I found doing that is that um, I would get a really, like, by that time, I would get like an idea, but often at that kind of just past that, towards like 15 to 20,000 words, I'd kind of get it by a wall if I don't know what the climactic point is. And that's kind of why I mentioned that I like having the climactic point, because what happens is that I kind of get hit by the weaknesses in my story. For example, if I didn't really figure out what the direction of my story was, or what the conflicts are, or what the stakes are, that's kind of the point where it really usually hits me. But having done this, like I think I have like 25 rough drafts already. So by now I've kind of learned how to sidestep that little disaster area anyway. But that's the one thing that I find is a bit difficult about just going into it. I do sometimes, like I mentioned, if I feel strongly about something, I do sometimes just go for it and not prepare at all. But I do like these days, I do like having a little bit more to go on, but it depends on my mood. And then Naked Firefly actually says, I do the same thing. So that's actually cool to know that we're a lot of plotters, because I find a lot of people on YouTubers, or not plotters, pantsers, because on YouTube people seem to have this thing of thinking that plotters are superior, and then yeah, like I said, I'm just anything goes, do what you want. If you wanted to write a book in like fridge magnets, you could try that as well if it worked out for you. But so it's cool to see that we are three people all in the pantsing kind of mind frame. And then Poet Spice also said, sometimes I write by hand. I like writing by hand if I'm not worried about getting word count. If I am word counting, I tend to type. Yeah, it's I just, from my point of view, in my situation, I'm actually just like, yeah, I just have to interrupt myself to say, Pantsers Unite, yes, but laugh out loud, fridge magnets. Yeah, no, it's definitely from my point of view. For me, I actually, it's so important to me to handwrite as part of my process that I would either try to get myself killed trying to reach certain word count goals, for example, during Nano. Um, but yeah, I've learned to sidestep that kind of issue as well by writing a lot of things. I tend to work on more than one project, so that comes in handy, because then if I do need to make up my word count, then I'll make it up by catching in the remainder. Like for example, if I manage to write 500 words by hand and I need to write 1,500 words, then I'll do an hour's worth of editing or rewriting something to my computer, like for 1,000 words or so. Easy stuff to catch it up. But because for me, the big thing at the moment in my current state where I'm right now is I'm really trying to focus more on building my momentum as a writer. So it's not necessarily getting specific word counts for specific projects, but more just upping my productivity in general. So I'm very much about, like, it doesn't really matter what I'm working on as long as I get stuff done and I actually work on something. But like I mentioned, this month has just been horrible. So I'm probably just going to do what I can, and then I'll just get back into my momentum building mode again next month once I know what's going on with the job and stuff. So yeah. All right. So I think um, it's not looking like you guys are very keen on the sharing of excerpts tonight. So I'm just going to go into our last writing sprint for the night, and then we can talk a little bit more before we call it a night. So. But if you have any more comments or chats or questions, just feel free to just drop me a line, and then I'll come back to it after the sprint as well. All right, so I'm going to count down, and then I'll see you guys in 15 minutes. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and go. Okay, time. How did you guys do? I think I actually did another like page and a half. So I'm quite happy with that. And yeah, so Code Spice said upping that productivity definitely in connection to what I said earlier. Yeah, I kind of lost track of writing for a while, which is also why I stopped vlogging for almost a year at one stage because yeah, it was just chaos in my life at one stage. So I lost all like literally momentum. But now things are going better. So I'm trying to get back to momentum and also more than that, just actually being more productive than I was before. And that is possible because since I started writing again this year, my life is completely different compared to what it was even the last time I was like seriously being productive about writing. So I'm actually aiming to go for about 3,000 words a day, but at the moment I'm not quite there yet. But I'm hoping that just the effort of getting there frequently will eventually just increase my general levels of productivity. So that's basically what I'm doing. But not this month because, like I said, this month kind of kicked my ass. Naked Firefly said 0 words this time. It was baby time. Oh, that's still fine. It's always worth it to have baby time, I'm sure. But I also just want to mention and say thank you guys for writing with me tonight. I really appreciate that you took the time to spend my writing stream with me because it's always kind of something that you worry about when you do a writing stream when you know no one's going to keep you company on camera is that how many people are going to be there for you like in the chats because when I started doing these streams I actually used to have to talk to myself for hours on end just to have the stream done and that really sucked guys, you cannot imagine, it was terrible. So I'm always grateful to see you guys in the chats. And Poet Spice says, my word count 357 words. Nicely done. That's impressive. So, do you want to share an excerpt, Poet Spice, or Naked Firefly, because we didn't share the previous time? I have, um, I can also share something, but it's only if you guys want to share. Otherwise, we can just say goodnight. And then Poet Spice says, this was fun. Yeah, it definitely was. I enjoyed it. It was great. You're going to come back next week. I have this writing stream basically weekly. So 5 p.m. South African time or 11 a.m. EST every Saturday, unless there's something that happens that I've tried to plan for, then I let you guys know ahead of time so that you know when it is going to happen. But otherwise, I just have the standing date. So I do hope you're going to come back again because I really enjoyed having your company. It was fun, and same for you, Firefly. But I'd hope, given that you've been by so many times already, that you already know all about it. So that you are having fun here. So I'm kind of making the presumptuous kind of assumption that you would be back. So I'm not even asking. You will be back. But yeah. So Poet Spice says, Eek, I'll share another time. I need to rework a bit. Okay. That's perfectly fine. Okay, then I'm not going to share my bit either because I don't, like I said, I like sharing excerpts and I think it's good to do it, but I don't like doing it when I'm the only person doing it. So yeah, it's weird. And then Poet Spice says, okay, cool. I will come back, and Naked Firefly says I'll be back definitely. Awesome. So looking forward to it, guys, and I hope you have an awesome week and productive if you are going to get some writing done this week if you're planning to. otherwise, just good luck with the agents and the work and all the meetings and all the stuff that's coming up this week. And then I'll see you guys on Saturday, and then we can do this again. All right. Thanks so much for joining. Bye bye. Yes, it absolutely is fun to write with other writers. Now I'm really leaving. Ciao.